and give a huge warm welcome to our star guest today. It's Kurt Wuckert. Kurt, good afternoon, sir. How are you? It's lovely to have you on the show. Please welcome.
I'm quite well, thank you. Glad to be on, glad to talk.
It's great to have you on. I have to say, you are our first video guest. We've had lots of phone-ins, but this is our first video guest. So you're very welcome. It's an absolute honor to have you here. Now, let me just tell you what our channel is about and what we hope to get from you today. And thank you so much for taking the time to be on our channel. I know you're a busy guy.
No, for sure.
Just some full clarification if you've never seen my show before. I'm known as the World Piano Man. I'm a full-time musician. I've toured all over the world performing theatre shows and what have you. I'm not a crypto expert or a trading expert, but why people follow me, and this is only a new channel, we were a year old 2 days ago, is because people are following my journey of how I've grown a $5,000 live on the show in front of everyone to the portfolio I have today. They've seen me get margin called. They've seen me cry. They've seen me up and they've down. But everything is real. There's too much online, especially around crypto. You know, people making up stories, influencing themselves, trying to promote their YouTube channels. We know the big guys make 10 grand a video. These are the guys with millions of views, millions of subscribers. And why not? You can come on and say anything and make money because people will watch anything. And we've done polls on our channel. We did a poll and we asked all our audience, does anyone know what Michael Saylor was talking about? Does anyone know what he's saying? And we got, I think it was 70% of the people said, no, got no idea what he's saying. And then I asked the same 70% of people, now we've established you don't know what he's saying. How many of you went out and bought Bitcoin, as in BTC? And nearly all of them said, yeah, I have. So basically what we proved on our show is people will watch a YouTube channel, which appears to be live, and it goes round and round and round. It's never live, but it looks like it's live. 10,000 people watching every 5 minutes. See someone talking. They don't know anything about what he's saying, but then they go out and they buy what he just told them. That sounds the most crazy situation, but that's the world we live in. So we have had some very heated debates about Bitcoin and BSV. And what we've established, the only fact we've really got to is either side is like a cult. Either side is very aggressive and very, you're an idiot, you don't know what you're talking about, you should buy what I'm buying into. And because of that, the average man on the street, like me, the majority are like me, they're just regular people with their money thinking, I want to buy into crypto, what's it all about? The majority of the people have now lost faith because they see all these crypto projects now disappearing and going bankrupt and ripping off everybody. People are so bloody confused. If only we could get everyone together. And I invited the heads of BTC and the heads of BSV to come together in one debate together at the same time. And I couldn't get everyone to come together at the same time. It's like having two double glazing salesmen in the room at the same time because no one will agree. But we want that on our channel because we don't. Yeah. I'm not trying to sell anything or promote anything, but I want you to tell me what you believe, not to promote yourself, because you'll always grow and be successful by being real and honest anyway. You don't need to make up stuff, right? Sure. So great to have you here. Yeah. So which side of the coin are you on? Are you a BSV guy or you're a BTC guy, or maybe you're both?
So I think of myself as a Bitcoin guy. I've been a Bitcoiner for 10 years.
Bitcoin what? BTC or BSV?
My opinions about Bitcoin have not changed.
Which one?
What has changed is I'm primarily a BSV guy. I think BSV BSV is the thing that embodies everything that mattered to me about Bitcoin 10 years ago and 7 years ago and 5 years and 2 years and now. It's the same. It is a system that functions as a global peer-to-peer digital cash system that allows you to do commerce just as easily in like South Carolina as you could in South Korea. And it's a global money system that doesn't have limits. And so for me, BSV is a crystal clear choice if we were trying to actually implement Bitcoin the way that it was intended to be implemented. So that's my position.
Okay. Now, we've got some BSV fans in here, and I hate using the word fan because I don't want fans. I want people. I want educated people, not just fan holders. I'm massive into stocks like Virgin Orbit and Virgin Galactic. I'm all about the future and space and innovation. So, but I'm not a fan of it. I buy it because I believe it will change the world, and I buy it because it makes me money. That's it. I'm not a fan of the stock itself. So we've got people in here now who are very much on one side of the coin. Now, we had someone call in this morning and made the point. His view, it's called Ali Tisro. You may have seen the video this morning. He called in and he said that BTC was the original and BSV forked off. And I didn't even realize this. As a guy who doesn't know everything about crypto, clearly, I didn't realize there was over 80 forks of different spin-offs from Bitcoin. So I asked him, well, which was the first one? Which is the original? Shouldn't there be a penny black of stamps? Shouldn't there be the very first one? So can you clarify that? There are so many people here trying to establish which was the original and what is a fork?
So it's in software. What you can do with an open source software repo is you can make a copy of it and then you can change something. It doesn't matter what you change. If you make a change, you have essentially, this is the term forking, is you have forked a software repository. This is where people get together to build software together. So Bitcoin was debuted on a software repo called SourceForge. And in SourceForge, there's a license. It's an MIT open source license that explains that Bitcoin means X. And if you make a change, you need to clarify what that change is, and you need to rename the thing that you made. And so a good example of this would be Litecoin. So Litecoin is just Bitcoin, but it has 2.5-minute blocks instead of 10-minute blocks. And then it also has a higher supply. There are a couple other very small trimmings, but essentially that's the difference between Bitcoin and Litecoin. There's no issue there. So they made a change and they called it Litecoin, and nobody's going to confuse that with Bitcoin. Now, the problem is when you make a change in Bitcoin and don't say that it is no longer Bitcoin. And so there was a period of time that I personally call the Bitcoin Civil War. It's a term that other people use, but some people like to pretend that it didn't happen. So in 2015 and 16, there was a big conversation about how to scale. So there was Satoshi Nakamoto's words that Bitcoin should be capable of outcompeting Visa with existing software or existing hardware and things. This is going back all the way to 2009, 2010. Satoshi Nakamoto saying like Bitcoin was designed to be a global payments network as is. And people disagreed with it. People saying, well, Satoshi doesn't really understand. Maybe he wasn't a network engineer. And so it got very contentious between two groups of people. The two groups are big blockers and small blockers. So Bitcoin has a settlement period of 10 minutes. So every 10 minutes, there is a reconciliation of all unconfirmed transactions. And when the reconciliation occurs, it is put into a block. So it is essentially a sealed piece of data saying that this 10-minute number of transactions has been accounted for and is done. It is a signed block of data. In BTC, the Bitcoin that everybody thinks about, there is a 1 megabyte hard-coded limit to the protocol. So that translates to just a few thousand transactions that you can put per block. You cannot do any more. And that is an arbitrary thing. This was actually an addition to Bitcoin done in 2010. But the originalists, and this is where people like me come in, they say like, hey, Satoshi Nakamoto put Bitcoin out without a block size limit. So why do we have this arbitrary limit? Why should we not be able to mine a 2 megabyte block or a 10 megabyte block or a 10 gigabyte block every 10 minutes? And so these are big blockers. I am very much a big blocker in the Bitcoin conversation. And so basically we went through a series of splits where things split from each other. So this is if you have a transaction, let's say you have two blocks that are competing with each other and one follows one set of rules and one block has one rule that's broken. The rule that was quote unquote changed in 2017 was in Bitcoin Cash that there was an allowance for there to be up to 8 megabytes worth of transactions in a single block. So this is when BTC and BCH split, and then BCH and BSV split from each other over a very similar thing that the BSV people wanted to be able to mine a block that was any size. They wanted to restore Satoshi's vision of Bitcoin. That is what the SV is in Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's Satoshi vision is nobody should arbitrarily choose the level of competition. Like the competition should not be hard coded to only be able to compete at 1 megabyte or 32 megabytes or anything. It should be up to the competing nodes of the network to try to mine as big a block as they can for economic reasons. There's a profit motive to do this. And ultimately that profit motive will implement a system that allows people to do not just the basic commerce that people assume you want to do, but it allows the creativity of an economic actor to build anything they want. So it's an experiment in complete free market economics at the infrastructure level and at the application level and at the user level. And that's BSV. So when people say that, yes, there's been 80 something forks, yes, there have been. So there's Bitcoin Gold, there's Bitcoin Diamond. I did listen to the call earlier and he listed off a few forks.
Yeah.
And so, yes, they sort of exist, but they're dead. Like people don't use these chains. There's not transactions on them. They're not actively being developed. There's no venture capital. There's no builders. There's no businesses on these chains. The only exception is BSV. BSV has multiple independent venture firms that are building dozens, if not hundreds, of independent businesses. There's multiple mining pools that are growing, investing. I actually run a BSV mining pool myself. Wow. We're investing our own money in trying to build out this infrastructure for a Bitcoin-powered data economy in the future. And so BSV is not a joke. We are significantly smaller than the BTC economy, but we are building furiously. We're investing furiously. Like we are trying to build something that is very fundamentally unique with this technology, and we're looking to win. Like we are in it to win it. And so I don't think that any other quote unquote Bitcoin fork really has that sort of ethos that we have.
Okay. I appreciate the way you've explained that. And I think you've been one of the best people ever to explain BSV to us in a calm manner, which makes serious investors feel more inclined to invest in it as opposed to joining a cult or a fan club and get all aggressive and start shouting at each other. We've had a lot of that on the show. It's incredible. Anyway,
sure.
Some people are asking me, well, which one, if you like, I mean, I'm using layman's terms and I want to talk in layman's terms because most people just want it in layman's terms. They just want to invest in something, forget about it and make a return on it.
Sure.
So which was coded, BTC or BSV? Which was coded first? On who if you like invented it first? Which one came out first?
So I mean, they use the same code, really. So I mean, they're utilizing the Bitcoin protocol. They're just doing it in different ways. So it's kind of like saying, which car company has the real car, right? Yeah. Like Chevrolet implements cars very differently than BMW does, but they're both using the automobile protocol. So BSV did not have its own ticker until November of 2018. So a lot of people would point to that and say that's when it was quote unquote invented. Right. But I'll tell you what, if you've been holding Bitcoin since 2009 or 10 or 11 and you have never moved your Bitcoin, your keys are valid on all chains. So you can use those keys to move BTC or BCH or BSV or whatever. So it's kind of there's not another thing like it, so it's a little bit confusing to say that one is X and one is Y. That is
the problem. People are going, well, we've heard of BTC for a while now, and then BSV comes along, so BSV must be the spin-off, the con, the fork, the make believe stuff. That's one of the biggest problems. So. Sure. At some point, somebody. Oh, thank you ever so much, Guku Dragon, for the subscriber. Thank you so much indeed. So, what people? I mean, not that it really matters. Not that it really matters. Even if one was before the other or whatever, you're not necessarily going to just buy the first thing because it's the first thing. You'd buy the best thing, right? Theoretically, I'm just talking in layman's terms, right? So, sure. Is there a way? And there must be a way. Somebody sat on a computer once upon a time, assuming it was Craig Wright, assuming it was, that's Nakamoto. Satoshi. Let's assume he sat down one day and he wrote the code and that was BSV or BTC. Is there a way to know which one he wrote first? Is there a way to prove that?
So, I mean, kind of, but not in a definitive way. It's not like it's a 1 + 1 = 2. Like it's going to be a lot more like doing detective work and ultimately getting an opinion that maybe works in court. Like if somebody's going to be convicted of a crime, that they have to tell the jury has to say like, look, the evidence indicates this, but I mean, we didn't all get to watch it happen, right?
Surely, if we're investing billions and billions of dollars, this isn't kids around in a playground buying sweets off each other. This is a very serious thing. Thank you, Brandon Ward, for your subscriber as well. It's your subscription rather. Surely, I mean, you've got Michael Saylor talking. Most of our audience have no idea what he's saying, but they'll go out and buy it anyway. We've had that poll. We've proved that, which is beyond my comprehension to even believe that people could behave that way, but they do. And he will say BDC is the original because you can't change it, you can't make up something else. So people think, hang on a minute, then if this guy's bought more Bitcoin than anyone else, he's the richest man. He got all this right, and he's saying that BTC is the original and everything else is a copy, but you can't copy it. People that naturally then think, okay, well then BSV must be a con. And we need to get round that. Someone needs to answer that for me because my audience want to know that.
I think the first thing to recall is Michael Saylor might be the single worst investor of all time. He's about $1 billion underwater right now on his BTC investment. And people who study the history of investment and finance will note that Michael Saylor was the single losing most CEO in the dot-com bubble burst as well. So Michael Saylor is not a good indicator for wise investment by any metric that I've ever seen.
Okay.
But what he's talking about is this notion that Bitcoin BTC is unchanging is just absolutely a fallacy. Just last November, the Taproot upgrade occurred on BTC, and it occurred by a mechanism that's called a soft fork. And people are told soft forks are small changes; they don't really matter. But that's not really true. A soft fork is actually a very complicated change that's been wrapped up into a set of rules that makes it that the nodes on the network can't validate the change. They just say, trust us, these soft fork rules are approved by newer nodes, and legacy Bitcoin nodes can't even read what's inside them. So, and Taproot's not even a particularly big change. Probably the biggest change that occurred in Bitcoin was in 2017. It was the segregated witness fork. And so what that did is it stripped signatures out of a Bitcoin block and it put them in a different place. It replaced them with a hash that functions as an IOU for a Bitcoin signature. But that's just another example. Like there's dozens and dozens and dozens of changes to BTC. So I don't know if Michael Saylor is just ill-informed or if he's being malicious because he's so heavily invested in things. But it is an absolute fallacy that BTC doesn't change. It literally has hundreds of developers working on changes right now, and they're debating another extremely contentious change to Bitcoin coming forward. On the what do they call it? The implementation of a covenant system that means if I send you Bitcoins that you can only spend them under certain rules. So let's say I were to send Bitcoins to a charity, but I'm only allowing them to be allocated to, use very directly in the charity. Like they can't be used for salary, for example. Well, that's another very big change to the Bitcoin protocol. And so it's just plainly untrue. And BSV is one of these things that split off because we were trying to maintain the rule set of Bitcoin being unchanged. So I think that's the very funny thing is that, again, if you've been holding Bitcoin since before any of these splits, you have BSV and BTC by default. So all the old school guys, the old guard, they have all versions of Bitcoin. And ultimately, if you fought to maintain the status quo, if you fought to maintain Bitcoin being unchanged, you have ended up in BSV. And it's a very unpopular position, but it is the truth. And I think the truth is going to be more well known as time goes on, because we're starting to see, I think the average investor is looking at someone like Michael Saylor, who was saying, hey, take out a second mortgage on your house to buy more BTC. He was saying that when it was up at, $65,000 a coin. So, I mean, he is ruining people's lives if they're taking his investment advice. And I think people are going to really start to question not only his intelligence, but probably also his intentions.
That's a very valid point, and I appreciate that. We've got lots of questions for you. Have we got more time with you, or do you need to rush? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm happy to chat.
Fantastic.
Let's do it.
This is wonderful. Right. So what we're going to do now, we're going to come back to Kurt in a few seconds. We just have to look at a couple of things that are happening. We've got the day trader of the day. Kurt, stay right where you are in the green room, and I'll be right back with you in a minute. Fascinating stuff. So many great questions coming in now. So let me go back to Kurt right now in our broadcast lounge. Here we go. And so Kurt, everything you see here is real and genuine. This is all my real money. So, and if it went to zero, I would have no money. This is why people follow me, because they see.
That's incredible.
Well, they see it's my real money. I have no pension. I have no life savings. I have a couple of grand in the bank, which pays the day-to-day bills. I'm a full-time YouTuber. This is my only job. Because of COVID, I couldn't tour anymore. I did 195 countries as the world piano man. I performed as the Phantom in London. I've been all over the world as the piano man, and literally every country of the world, many for the British Army, serving the troops and so on. And so now people watch me either become a millionaire or lose all my money live on the show. So I sometimes have to sell when I'm talking to a guest, because that was my real money. Okay. So we're back with Kurt, and I think everyone is enjoying the conversation this afternoon. And let me, if you've given a message for Kurt, obviously we've seen a lot of the comments roll through. Please post again. I would like to hear from Ali Tisrow, who called in this morning. Of course, that's the other side of the coin, if you like. Please, I'd like your comments, and Paul B, all of you. So here we go. Martyn, you have to make a song for Kurt. Well, we do songs in the show. Maybe we'll do that at the end. As you know, I do 650 songs, 14 voices. Anyway, Robert Rose, why BTC? Let me have a look. I don't want any sort of scammy, silly comments. It got to be sensible. Paul B, Tether is the biggest problem to crypto right now, especially BTC. When that collapses, all hell breaks loose. Kurt, what's your thoughts on that comment? That's from Paul B, one of our members, who is into BSV, by the way.
Yeah, that's probably fair. A few years ago, I would have agreed that it was the biggest problem. I actually think that the biggest problem now is probably opaque trading inside of these exchanges, where they're almost certainly running a fractional reserve on everything that they're doing. So they're selling more Bitcoin than they have, because they assume people aren't going to withdraw. And then they're able to then lend them out in all these complicated, basically the nasty things that the banks aren't supposed to do and probably aren't allowed to do anymore because of regulations. A lot of these exchanges are run by people that left big banking firms, and they kind of know the tricks that you could play if people weren't looking. And there's a big opportunity if you're sort of a financial wizard to really make a lot of money in ways that are really not ethical and certainly not legal. But I think we're starting to see that. Celsius knocked off withdrawals like 2 weeks ago. There's been a lot of rumors that they've hired bankruptcy attorneys. We've heard that FTX, which is probably the most successful exchange of the last 2 years, has ended up having to bail out a number of different players, which means they were playing the same kind of games. And we're in a bear market, and so it's in these bear markets that you start to see hey, who's going to get caught with their pants down? And frankly, I think it's going to be almost everybody, because there's been so much money to be made by being dishonest and by lending out money that you didn't have, giving people yields that don't make any sense, and essentially running Ponzi schemes. And so I think the exchange economy, or people might want to call them the bucket shop economy, really is probably the largest existential threat. And then Tether not being fully collateralized and everything else, I think is just, it's one more symptom of that same problem, is that basically everybody's being dishonest.
Which is exactly why I started broadcasting just over a year and 2 days ago on this channel, to try to help people and bring people the truth. And the only way to do that was to sit here 6 hours a day, 5 days a week live, which is what I do every day, every single day. And I hope to have more guests like you on the show who can talk in the way you're talking, and people can listen in, not a hyped, not a crazy thumbnail which gets everyone to think the world's coming to an end, or I'm about to make $1 million on something in 5 minutes. We believe here on this channel that investing is about putting your hard-earned money into something, at least I feel that, and I know most of my members do, that will benefit the world, make you a return, slowly and steadily. I feel like I'm growing an oak tree. I plant an oak tree. My village in Cornwall, where I come from, is 2,000 years old. And we believe in tradition and time, getting rich in 5 minutes and dumping the whole bloody thing and leaving everybody hanging. Remember, if Bitcoin went to $1 million tomorrow and everybody sold it, there's people who've just walked in off the street, paid $1 million for something, which is now worth nothing because it goes back down again. It's quite unscrupulous, right? If you think about it. But anyway, do you believe that BSV is primarily something that you can buy because you just want to get rich for doing nothing? I've got 11 right now. I've got 11 BSV, okay? And someone said to me, one of our very successful, very wealthy, very, very wealthy investors said to me that it's like the cheapest lottery ticket in the world. You've got 11 BSV, $50 each. If it goes to $1 million, you got $11 million. You're a rich man, right? Yep. Do you look at it like that, or do you buy BSV because it does something, or it has a use? What is your thoughts on that?
Well, it's a both and. I mean, I wouldn't buy Apple stock if they didn't sell computers and iPhones and really good software, So it's right. Funny because people think about blockchain assets, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, whatever, as things that just are going to make money because they're scarce. This is a provably scarce thing, and people are going to want it, and so it's just math, But yeah. and that's some of that's true. I think if you apply sort of the BTC logic of there's 21 million coins and there's 50 million millionaires on Earth, so that's just a math problem I want to be on this side of. And that's also true about BSV. So I do think it is, I think it's a good investment. It might end up being really the best investment of all time, but that assumes that all this other utility, are going to explode. Again, it's like investing in Apple computers in the 1980s, or pick any business that is a titan of industry today, but buying them when they were a garage company, that's what we're looking at here. But it means that BSV needs to be that asset that really unlocks economic utility that can't be unlocked with any other thing. And if it can't actually do that, then, you take the loss and you walk away. But I'm invested heavily. I'm invested in BSV startups. I'm invested in the coin itself. I have my own business in the space that's an infrastructural participant in the BSV network. So, I put my money where my mouth is. It's what I really believe is going to change the world. I think if we're going to change the world with a technology, it's either going to be BSV or it's going to be something that looks very, very much like it. And so I'm dug in.
Do you think that if what a lot of people think, BTC is about to drop all the way down, 10,000, 8,000. You get people like BitBoy, Cryptos Are Us, all these YouTubers, which is what a lot of our audience watch because they watch me, so they watch other YouTubers. It kind of makes sense, right? They draw all these charts and they tell you when it hits this, it's going to go here. When it hits this, as everyone knows, I'm not a chart reader. They think I don't know what I'm talking about. My education, I went all the way. I've got a good education, but I choose not to look. I understand charts, but I choose not to use them because for me, they're a map of what already has happened, what people already did. It's not a crystal ball of what's going to happen tomorrow. It gives an indication of human sentiment, but I'm more interested in the product, the people behind it, what it makes, what it does, and I can relax and sleep at night and wake up in 6 months and my portfolio should be up, bar a war or inflation or like we've got right now. I'm not up at all. I'm down quite a bit. But that's very, very important to me. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree completely. I think BTC is a severely overvalued asset. I think if you read the pitch of what Bitcoin was, if you look at the various pitches of what Bitcoin is or what it could do or what we're investing in over the last, it's been 13 years now. So, you can find YouTube content that's a decade old and it's people talking about the Internet of Money. This was the name of Andreas Antonopoulos' first big book about Bitcoin was the Internet of Money. And he's explaining smart contracts and tokenization and all these cool things that you can do with the tech. And if you were to talk to him today, he'd say, that's not really what Bitcoin's for. Like that's not what it is. It's super scarce and big banks want it more than you do. So be the one to buy it before JP Morgan decides to buy a bunch or whatever. And like that's fine, but that's scarcity is itself not a utility. And I think when markets are irrational, and I think the last 2+ years has been the very definition of irrational markets, all kinds of crazy stuff pops off for no reason. But when things contract, when people start getting afraid of inflation and food prices are up double, triple, gasoline's 500% higher than it was 3 years ago, people start to say like, man, maybe I don't just want a bunch of digital numbers in a wallet, and that's not going to pay the bills or feed my kids or any of that. And so I think real utility starts to make a lot more sense to people when the rest of the economy starts looking a little shaky. So
I absolutely agree with you 100% on that. It's why today I started to buy and increase my position on Virgin Orbit, because I know Sir Richard Branson. I'm hoping, you see my Kickstarter on the screen, I'm hoping that'll go live on Friday, hoping to make a movie at Virgin Orbit in the UK, go to the UK and then the Spaceport in the US, because there's information now that Virgin Orbit are going to be helping put satellites in space to help with the war. And the British...
Fascinating.
The British defence would get into that. And so, it does something. It makes the world a better place. I like what Elon Musk is doing now with Starlink. We had a very emotional moment on our show. When I'm not doing this, I go back to the part of the studio and I sing songs. And when the war broke out for 6 weeks, every day for 6 weeks, 5 days a week, I sung live to the people of Ukraine, and I had sponsors, because at first no one in Ukraine was listening to me. Why would they? They're not my audience. They don't know I exist. Yeah. Some of my members donated for me to do YouTube ads to put the videos in front of people in Kiev. Literally, you can target the people in Kiev. And we had people call in from a bunker in the middle of an air raid live on my show and say, thank you for what you're doing. We watch you every day. And it's because of Elon Musk providing us free Starlink. I don't know how they got it there or how it got dropped in or whatever, but they were in the basement being bombed. They could hear the bombs. And they said to me, we love this. We tune in every day. And we're sitting here with our mums and dads and so on, and our cats and our dogs listening to you on our phone. And that is why I get up in the morning and do this channel. And that's why I invest, because if I can put my money into something that makes the world a better place, the money will take care of itself. It will make money because people will love it and they'll want it. And it's why, and you're a YouTuber, you will know these numbers are great, right? Even though I'm small, my audience are watching right now. The same people watch me every day for 2 hours in the morning, every morning, and 2 hours every night. They watch me more than they watch anything else, more than they talk to their own wives and husbands, right? Because we are a family. And if you build something real, people will come and they'll invest in it. They'll invest their time in it. And if BSV and crypto could change the world, once people know it and they believe in it, the sky is the limit. But too many people are lying and trying to line their own pockets. And the trouble is, they only make money for themselves now. Tomorrow they have nothing. No one would care less if Michael Saylor other than his family and his wife and his friends, would care less if he dropped down dead tomorrow. And I don't mean that in a nasty way. I'm just making the point that someone you follow on YouTube or you think is, right, the best thing in the world, if they went away tomorrow, if you didn't take it to heart and really believe it, you will find out how much you believed it when it goes away. You wouldn't even know you've missed it. So we need people like you to come on our show and give us the information, because there are people out there hungry for this knowledge. And just as before I come back to you, just want to say, guys, Virgin Galactic has topped out at $6. I was right. I bought it at $5.98, sold it at $6.05, because tomorrow we might get another pullback. So I've just trimmed my portfolio back down to $1,400. I'm saying this, Kurt, because I rank number 1 for SPCE stock on Google on the search, and a lot of people follow me and they buy SPCE because I bought it. And I say, don't do what I do just because I've done it, right? For God's sake, don't do that. And anyway, got a question here from Ali Tisro. Ask his thoughts, your thoughts. Ask his thoughts on XRP. Some people say that the original BTC developers developed XRP after BTC. Some of these questions, I don't even know what I'm saying, but I am honest with you. Do you know what he's saying?
It's okay.
Could you answer it?
So XRP, XRP is the cryptocurrency that runs on the Ripple ledger. Ripple Labs, Ripple Incorporated. They're a U.S. Blockchain development firm. They're super old. Ripple actually predates Bitcoin. Ripple, the company, anyways. And they've been trying to figure out how to do global settlements in a really efficient way for a very long time. So they're cool. I actually like Ripple as a company. But XRP really is just Bitcoin, but with a different validation method. So they use a bunch of trusted validators. They don't have any proof of work. There's no mining or any of that. They use I believe they call it the Ripple consensus mechanism or something like that. But basically, it's computers that decide the state of the ledger, but they don't have any competitive aspect to it. And it's a little bit opaque as to who those validators are, which is why they get this criticism of, well, they're completely centralized. How do we know that every node isn't just owned by Ripple Corporation and you're using their private ledger? And it's a totally valid criticism. In fact, the United States government agrees, and they've been suing Ripple, the company, for about a year now over them issuing the XRP token as probably an illegal securities offering because of the nature of their business model and the way the blockchain's implemented. Does XRP scale? No, I haven't seen any evidence that it does anything that BSV can't do. And I've not ever seen anybody's numbers say that it can do more than 5,000 transactions a second, which is not very good. It doesn't even, that's not even Visa level transactions, much less global economy level transactions. So I find XRP to be a novel project by a very big, interesting company, but it's ultimately not accomplished anything that I would say is a superlative. It's a very middle of the road project by basically every metric. And I've not seen any real evidence. There are a lot of people that really like David Schwartz, who's their senior engineer. He looks like your classic cypherpunk guy. He's a nerd, wears funny t-shirts, big brown beard, long brown hair. Like he looks like, if you were to pick a computer programmer for a sci-fi movie, like he's it. He embodies it. He lives it. He's actually a cool guy. But Ripple and the XRP ledger doesn't really impress me. BSV can do orders of magnitude more transactions per second, and it can do more things in each transaction than XRP can because of the way that it's implemented. So.
Got more questions here if you've got time. Ghost in the Shell, one of our guests has just joined us, just asked, can I do You Want to Be Starting Something by Michael Jackson? For those of you who've just tuned in, I'm known as the World Piano Man. I can do 14 voices in 7 different languages. And yes, I can do Michael Jackson. And maybe at the end, when we finish our interview with Kurt, I'll do some voices for you. I'll do Michael Jackson for you. No problem at all, Ghost. If you want to give me a super chat and highlight your request, you can do that. That'd be much appreciated. Brandon Ward, several people are loving, quite a few people are loving this conversation, and they're saying this channel is going to be massive one day. So I appreciate all of your sentiment on that. I will be here until the end. Will never give up. I've been doing the same business, production, entertaining for 37 years. I went professional at 16, and I know what it is to sit here and work and never give up. So I'll be here with you until I'm 98 years old. All right. Brandon Ward said, Kurt, what do you say is the biggest reason why people think BSV is a scam? What is the biggest reason?
I mean, there's a lot of really successful rhetoric on the whole cryptocurrency, the whole blockchain conversation. And frankly, when a group of people tells you that something is a scam, and then something like BTC makes you a lot of money, it's very hard to convince somebody who made a lot of money that they're wrong. So BSV, BSV has a lot of reputational stuff because big blockers in general carry a lot of baggage because of what people have said about us for years, that big blocks don't work, that it's only people that want to centralize power into their own hands. And they've been very successful at keeping a very tight narrative about what Bitcoin is for. It's a store of value by Bitcoin, HODL. Like these are the things, like these are very concise, simple things for people to understand. And when somebody like me talks about like, wow, you can do smart contracts and isn't Bitcoin script important and all these, I'm already talking above most people's heads. And so it's easy for people to point at me and say, Kurt's just talking technobabble. He's trying to get you to invest in some scammy thing.
Well, hello.
And then it comes down to,
doesn't Michael Saylor do that all the time? We've proved that. No one has a clue what he's talking about.
I think so. I mean, that's the thing. I look at the influencers on the BTC side and I say, man, these people really strike me as scammers. But, I guess a successful scammer, I don't know. Like they wouldn't be a successful scammer if they weren't good at sort of social engineering people and becoming endearing. But I think the other one is the fact that Craig Wright is involved, and Craig Wright came onto the scene against his will, for the record, in 2015 after being outed as Satoshi Nakamoto by Wired and Gizmodo magazines. And then the community very quickly was like, well, maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but this is how he must prove it. He needs to either move some of Satoshi Nakamoto's coins or he needs to sign a message with Satoshi Nakamoto's keys. And Craig essentially refused to do it, but cited the fact that, hey, I was outed against my will. I didn't ask for an outing or a PR campaign. Like I wanted to be left alone. And now you've made me a public figure. And like Craig, frankly, is a prickly dude. And he's not the guy everybody wanted him to be, as Satoshi Nakamoto. Everybody has this vision in their head. And so people have decided that Craig is a scammer, and the fact that Craig supports BSV makes it a scam by proxy. But again, like what is a scammer? Like Craig isn't asking for anyone's money. Nobody's ever heard him say that you should buy BSV, you should invest in this, send me money. Like, and this is again in the opposite, like looking at Michael Saylor is telling you to remortgage your home to buy BTC. And people, they call him Giga Chad. They call him this, he's a hero. Meanwhile, Craig Wright is saying, don't buy cryptocurrency, build a real business, invest in yourself, and like people look at him and say, he's a scammer. He's not really Satoshi. And it's like, he didn't start that conversation. So I think it's a lot of things, but it's, people want to believe what the other people believe. And it's, people are weird social animals.
Yeah, this is the problem. This is what we've touched on, probably one of the most important parts of it. Why it hasn't been, and it leads on to the next question. Why it hasn't been so as adopted as much as BTC, because we live in a world now where we're influenced. We've been influenced for hundreds of years. We pick up a magazine, and all women are made to feel they're supposed to look a certain way because people are photoshopped and think my skin isn't as good as that, and it never is. All right. I was famous in the West End in theatres for never wearing makeup. All my other performers on stage wore makeup, and it was me that I just don't. And I like to be myself, and I cannot perform as myself if I'm wearing makeup. I just don't like it. So, but that's just me. But everything now is make believe, and this is why I go live 5 hours, 6 to 7 hours a day. If I wanted to make money, I would record this, make an edited video, put it up. The way YouTube would process it, I would get more views because it's going out live. It doesn't know what to do with it yet. And it will never get as many views being live as it would as a video, because that is how I'd make my money. But if I did that, It would look like I was just trying to make money. It would be an edited video where I could take out whatever I wanted. I could erase bits if I make a mistake. And it is there to make me money. I'm getting great guests like you to make money. If I go live and you go live and we discuss it, you can see, and anyone can ask anything. Anyone could come on now, even phone in and say anything they want about you or me. And that's what makes it real. And we need more of this stuff, which makes it real. Do you believe, one of the questions I had, do you believe that Craig Wright, and I don't even know if it's that important, but do you believe that Craig Wright is the real Satoshi? We often talk about it on the show.
I do. So I think it depends, like that statement should be qualified. I believe that Craig Wright created the moniker of Satoshi Nakamoto, and I believe he wrote the white paper. I also believe that he essentially led whatever group of people was necessary to do the work. If you actually talk to him about it, he's very happy to credit Dave Kleiman helped him edit the white paper. So did his uncle, who he cites. And then he talks about guys like Hal Finney and Ray Dillinger and some of these other people that helped him audit the code and implement things. And so, just like it takes thousands of people to build a building, but ultimately you remember the name of the architect. I think that's very much the same with Craig. Like, Craig created Satoshi, Craig created the white paper, and he created the concept. Like, he invented Bitcoin in so much as Bitcoin couldn't have existed without him coming up with the game theory and how it should be implemented in a technical sense. But did he do every granular piece of work? No, he probably had, I would guess, 3 to 6 other people that participated in some regard. But he's very clearly the architect of Bitcoin and the author of the white paper.
Okay. And, at the end of the day, this is the reality again. He's judged by his personality rather than let's focus on the product. Okay. Yes. He can't help the way he comes across. He comes across as a used car salesman, a little bit scammy, perhaps, the way he it performs. I'm sorry if you're listening in, Craig. I'm sure you're not, but if you are listening in, I don't mean that disrespectfully. It sounds like it does, but at the end of the day, you could be a great creator. You could be a Leonardo da Vinci, but you might be a very antisocial person. You might not look the way people want you to look, or you might not talk the way people want you to talk. Sure. That is irrelevant, and we do judge. We judge people like that, and it I get very confused every day when I scroll through YouTube and you see people who are very aggressive about whether it's BSV or BTC, and you've got guys in hats and wigs and glasses, and it's like, I'm not saying you should put a suit and a tie on to be serious when you talk about money. You don't have to put a suit and a tie on, but be mindful of the people that are watching. And if you act like a clown, you make it look crazy and you make it look odd, and it confuses people. So we do live in a world where we go on judgment of how someone presents themselves. And one person just asked, why BSV when BTC has been adopted by countries as an official currency? So
I actually encourage anybody that wants to utilize BTC in their own life, go for it. Like, try to send transactions. You look at El Salvador, for example, and they wanted to implement BTC natively. They said, yeah, Bitcoin, why not? Well, they figured out that, okay, this doesn't work. And so people started pushing them, well, you need to use Lightning Network in order to have transactions for, 30-cent pupusas on Bitcoin Beach. And that didn't really work either. So what they actually ended up doing in El Salvador is implementing Algorand, which is a completely separate blockchain, and then tokenizing the BTC asset, telling people it was Lightning Network, and using a completely custodial wallet. So what they're actually doing is sort of playing like everybody gets a sort of weird government-controlled PayPal-esque wallet that says it's using Bitcoin. It's denominated in BTC, but they're not actually using the technology at all. And so that's a really good example of what the problem is with BTC. That it's the meme, it's the brand. It's kind of like going and seeing a fake Jimi Hendrix concert, and it's like, yeah, that's cool to watch a hologram, but I didn't actually go see Jimi Hendrix in 2022. So, like, in contrast, if you look at BSV, we could have utilized BSV in El Salvador natively, it could have been implemented in a week instead of some weird 6-month rollout that had all kinds of hiccups. Like, people could be using the Handcash wallet right now to send sub-cent payments on Bitcoin Beach and buying anything they want, from something that costs less than a penny all the way up to millions or billions of dollars if they wanted to. And it wouldn't require any extra infrastructure. It wouldn't require, a government rollout team to try to throw together a wallet at the last minute because the existing wallets don't work and all this other stuff. And it's because Bitcoin BTC has become, it's just this Frankenstein's monster of what you expect it to be. Like, you think you're going to get one thing and you get something very different. And then, they make a bunch of compromises to act like that's okay, but it doesn't do what it said it was going to do. And I think that's really my whole point, is that BSV does what people say Bitcoin is supposed to do, and BTC does not. And if you just experience both, and I encourage everybody, do both. Try to send me a penny of BTC, try to send me a penny of BSV. I'll send them back to you. Try to run your business on BTC versus BSV. Just do it. And whatever your experience is, whichever thing brings the most value to your life, use that.
Thank you for that. Talking about Handcash, I did actually have some experience with Handcash, and we never got it resolved. And again, sorry if this upsets anyone, but I tell you as it is, because that's the way we live on this channel, right? Alex Agut, I believe, is the creator of Handcash.
Yes, he is.
Yes, I got the app, and it worked. I was through my website. Through the browser, and I was able to send some money to people, and it was completely free, and it was instant, and it was quick, and it was great. Brilliant. Loved it. Then I got the app, and the app would only allows me to create a new account. It won't let me sign in as my old account. And I contacted him, and he said, I think there's a cache error. And obviously I've restarted my phone. I've done all those things, but he said, I think there's an error on the app. We are going to update it. And all my members were listening for that update, because I was telling people, we had a couple of scammy type people coming in going, everyone get my Handcash because you get some referral, for doing that, right? And I went, whoa, hang on. It's not yet working on my app. I can't recommend it until I can actually make it work on my phone, because I was sharing people live on the show. I'm sending money around. I was giving cash prizes. And as I'm talking to you now, I'm looking at my messages from Alex Agut, and I messaged him, and he messaged me back, and he said, there is an error, I'm going to fix it. But as of yet, he said it was going to be that day they would fix it. That was a couple of weeks ago. We never heard back from him, and it hasn't got updated. So if you do know Alex Agut, I would love to be able to say, the app is fixed, it works, I'm using it, and it works, and then I will tell everybody about it.
Indeed. I will send him a message as soon as I get off the air. He's... I wouldn't say we're not dear friends, like we don't see each other on Sundays necessarily, but he's been a colleague for a number of years. So I'll send him a message and let him know. I'd
love to make it work and then tell the whole world, because it seemed great, but I just couldn't get it to work on my phone. And I'm quite a technical guy, I know how things work. We need Pat Thompson on here next. He's great as well. Brandon Ward said. So if you know who that guy is, let him know, and I'd love to have him on the show if he could be open and as frank as Kurt is today. I'd love to.
Sure.
In crypto, there are no. HV says in crypto there is no fundamentals. Cannot be called investing. It's pure gambling. Well, I would say if you don't understand what you're buying or investing, that would make it gambling. I wouldn't necessarily say any asset, whether it's crypto or Apple, is an investment if you don't understand it. If you simply had $50 in your pocket and you thought, well, Apple sounds good, I've got an iPhone, that must be good, I'm going to buy Apple today. That's gambling, because you don't know what you just bought. You didn't buy an iPhone today, which you know what it does. You bought a share in a company. And I like to feel when I buy a stock, and I'm mainly in stocks, as you all know, 90% of my portfolio is stocks. I own a piece of the company. I own physical buildings and technologies and people that work there. So you need to understand what you're buying, not just buy it because it sounds good, and certainly don't buy it because it just looks cool on YouTube and everyone's talking about it. Not a chance you buy BSV to use it, Brandon Ward says. Ali Tisro said, 100% agree, Kurt. Tether was very scary in 2018. I'm glad he agrees with you, because he's very much not into BSV. He's never said I don't like it. He just doesn't understand it, but he is very much into XRP and BTC. He's a big investor in those things. So it's interesting that he's agreed with you on that. Let me just scroll down. You invest in companies to become rich. Yes, of course you do. You buy into something because you want to grow your wealth. And the only reason why I want to grow my wealth is I have no mortgage. All I want is $200,000, which I can earn 20% a year. I've got a little house in Cornwall in England. I can live virtually for free. I walk down the pub on a Sunday. I just need a little bit of money to pay for that. So I'm trying to grow my portfolio to give me enough money to provide for me and my wife a pension, if you like, when I retire. And that is why we invest. Of course it is. I won't read that out. That's a bit of blue language. Let's have a look. How can you use BSV? How can you actually use it? So if I bought $1,000 of BSV today, I'm not interested in one day becoming $1 million, but that does debate the question, if it's going to become $1 million, why would you spend it today? That's always confused me. If you owned a crypto coin that you could use, why would you spend it other than your cash if you think it's going to be worth $1 million? Because my $10 in my pocket ain't going to be worth $1 million. So could you put some light on that? 'Cause I've always thought that.
I mean, that's an age-old question in Bitcoin. I think just like anything else. I mean, if it's money, you should earn it, you should spend it, you should save it, you should invest it, and I think you need to have different stacks for different things.
Yep.
But I had an old investor tell me many years ago. He said, "Kurt, think of every dollar like a soldier. You don't send a soldier out unless he's going to come back with prisoners." And I always liked that analogy. And I think that it applies to Bitcoin as much as it applies to anything else. And so if you're going to spend Bitcoin, BSV, on something, like let's say Twetch, for example, is a social network that exists on chain. If I'm going to make a Twetch, I need to make that Twetch that's going to cost me 5 cents to post. I need to make at least 5 cents back on it to get back my initial investment of making the post. And so what it does is two things. So it's an initial investment in an idea, but it makes me really thoughtful and careful about the way that I engage on that social media, that I'm not just held to, I just want to tweet something, whatever. I can sit and tweet all day and it turns me into this weird toxic troll that interacts with everybody and gets political and fights with, and just whatever. But with Twetch, it's like, okay, I need to actually create value with my ideas. And that value becomes reciprocal back from other people to like my Twetch, branch my Twetch, and interact with me. And then I'm earning money from my interaction. So that's just one example. And it applies to a lot of things. It applies to business too. Like I may not want to spend 1,000 BSV on an acquisition of something that's not going to earn me any money back, like to buy a car, for example. But I'd be happy to deploy 2 or 3 BSV here and there to maybe issue a token smart contract that I can utilize in my business, or to secure some special thing. We can do like a marriage certificate on the blockchain for less than a BSV, some small infinitesimal number of coins. You can upload like personal title documents or medical records or your academic records, or anything else that has that sort of permanent value that you want, like a global attestation for. The kind of things that you might think of a government office and a notary doing for you, you can actually just do on BSV. And so you probably shouldn't just be spending BSV indiscriminately, because I do think that it's going to feel regrettable someday. But I do think we need to use it. It needs to have some utility that does things that you can't get done elsewhere. And so if you're creating value, then spending that Bitcoin is an investment. Every time that you spend it on something, you should be considering if that thing actually is valuable or if you're being wasteful. And ultimately, that's an economic calculation that's up to every individual to make for themselves.
Okay, great comment. Adele just said, I have the web hand cash and I have the same experience. The mobile app won't sync with the web one. Sort it out, Alex. There you go. So there are people here who are experienced. Get her done,
Alex.
Yeah, Alex. This is bad publicity. You could have great publicity. But, if if you're real at what you do, this is always the best thing, because you see Alex fix it. I will tell everybody realizes there can be errors and you fix it. And get it fixed. That's always better. People want open, honest, and transparency. Have we got any last questions for Craig here? Just a second. Sorry, Kurt, I apologize. I don't know where Craig come from. I was reading someone's comment there. Hand cash needs to let you cash out to bank or debit card. Okay. What's Kurt's thoughts on crypto.com? That's from Paul B. What's your thoughts on crypto.com? Any thoughts there?
It's funny. I invested in crypto.com originally when they were called Monaco, going back to, it's got to be 2017. I thought it was a really cool concept. I like the fact that they give you a card, they give you discounts on Netflix and a bunch of other stuff. It's an interest-bearing account, so you keep money there, and they give you, 10 or 12% or whatever on stable coins, and all of this sounds really, really good. And in a bull market, something like that probably is pretty good. When everybody's making money, it's a pretty good time to maybe risk a little extra capital on something that's going to make you even more, right? But in a bear market, if anybody's giving you over 3% interest, I would be very, very careful about leaving your money in their hands, because people are bleeding money right now. And I think we're going to see capitulation on a lot of these sort of platforms, because unfortunately, they have to be Ponzi schemes in order to give you that kind of a yield.
Yeah.
And so
common sense,
crypto.com,
isn't it?
Yeah, it's right. I mean, just you can you can dance when the music is hot, but you don't want to be the last person out of the club. So
I've got quite a few comments here about the hand cash. They're saying, Martyn, share your handle and we'll give you a hand cash tip. So what the hell? I've sat here for 7 hours today and got nothing out of it because it's all done live. So here is my handle in the chat. It's at Martyn Lucas. I couldn't make it easier. That's one thing that always surprises me. Kurt, is I am Martyn Lucas everywhere. It's my real name. I'm Martyn Lucas everywhere because it's my real name. And I never understand when people come on with different names. It's one of my pet hates. I know my members will go, hang on a minute, you're having to go at us again. I never understand that. Everyone's afraid to be themselves because of security. And the reality is, I give my cell phone number, my personal cell phone, to everybody. My actual phone sitting right here. Everyone's got it because I can block anyone. If anyone sends me a scam email, I can block the email. It doesn't matter. So my real name is Martyn Lucas. So if anybody wants to send me a hand cash tip, much appreciated. I tell you what, seriously, Kurt, I'm honored that you've taken the time out of your day to be on our humble channel. I think we're going to be a big channel in a few years because we're growing incredibly quickly. But I know you've had a lot of success with what you do in your business investments. I researched you today with your interviews on Fox and many other successful channels. So I really appreciate you taking your time out of your day to be on our channel. And from the comments so far, everybody's really appreciating this interview. So when this video ends, guys, because as you know, you can't comment below a video when it's live, only in the super chat, only in the chat, sorry. Please do allow it for a few minutes to process. Go below when this video finishes and come back and comment, and I will reply to everybody's comments. It takes me about 2 hours a day out of my day. I do it every day. I reply to everyone's comments. And if there are any comments there that are towards Kurt, I can't promise he will reply to everyone's comments, but I will forward them to him. I will copy him in Twitter. And if he has the time and wishes to reply to you, then he will. But I will reply to everyone's comments and pass them on. So please do go below. And I'd love to continue this conversation. I feel today confident with my investment. I know it's a very small 11 coin investment, but for me, that's, I'm not going to use margin. I don't feel you should borrow money to make money. I feel you should borrow money at the beginning to start it all off. And when you've made, I'm the guy who's, when I was 16, got a bottle of lemonade, borrowed a dollar from my mum. I'm just making up numbers. Borrowed $1, made a dollar profit, and then used the dollar to buy another bottle. Now I've got 2, and now I put the money back in. I think if you've got a good business, you can make money from money. You don't have to keep plowing in debt and margin, especially, guys, as margin is going to go up, become more expensive as interest rates go up. you've got to start making a lot of money just to cover the interest. So be very wary of that. And remember, everything that me and Kurt have said today is not financial advice. We are sharing with you what we do with our real money. You've heard Kurt say what he's doing with his real money, his real investments, and these are my real investments. And Kurt, I can't thank you enough for being on our show.
All right, cool. Martyn, you're doing a heck of a job. I've been watching you for a couple of weeks now, and everything you're doing from like a production standpoint, all this stuff, I'm blown away. So really grateful for you being authentic. I want to commend you for your authenticity. I do the same thing. I really am Kurt Wuckert Jr.
Yeah, exactly,
so,
exactly.
I think it's the way to be. People want authenticity. I think bear markets and the contraction of things makes people really appreciate real. So I think as long as you stay real, it's going to be a good thing. So thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And looking forward to rewatching.